Is this the most dangerous place in the desert? First appearing in 1902, this giant hole is getting bigger and bigger. And there's not just one.
Sprawling across northeast Utah is some of the most dangerous holes in the world. Who made them? Why? And where are they?
The terrifying unsolved Utah mystery has finally been solved. Northeast Utah is a place of rugged beauty and stark landscapes, but hidden within its vast, arid expanse lies a mystery that has scarred the land and whispered tales of danger. First appearing in 1902, these giant, gaping holes that appear in the desert, seemingly without explanation, weren't isolated incidents. They sprawled across the region, presenting some of the most perilous voids in the world. Visible even from miles above, their presence begs unsettling questions. Who made them? Why? And where do they lead? For those venturing into this remote corner of the state, answering these questions means confronting a terrain so treacherous it has been dubbed the most dangerous desert in Utah. The journey into this mysterious landscape begins with seeking answers in the heart of the desert. With the limited daylight of winter, exploring the region requires efficient transport, like a truck or an ATV, to cover the vast distances. While poring over satellite images, one can stumble upon intriguing clues, anomalies that stand out against the natural patterns of the sand and rock. One such anomaly that piqued curiosity was the ruins of an ancient structure, located deep in the desert, and, more importantly, close to the giant mysterious holes that marred the landscape. These crumbling walls seem to hold buried secrets, suggesting a connection to the voids nearby. Could these ruins, weathered by time and the elements, somehow unlock the puzzle of the hole's origin? Driven by this compelling question, the structure is revealed to be abandoned, its arches crumbling, its walls beaten by the relentless wind. They seem to silently tell a story, perhaps one of resilience or tragedy. The immediate assumption is that these ruins must hold clues, a tangible link to the purpose of the giant voids stretching out nearby. Speculation abounds regarding the original function of this desolate outpost. Could it have been an old trade post, a waypoint for merchants traversing the harsh desert? Or perhaps it was a mission, established with hope but ultimately failing under the punishing glare of the sun? However, as exploration continues, the desert landscape itself begins to offer more concrete clues than the ambiguous ruins initially provided. While the specific ruins discovered lacked explanatory signage, the surrounding environment spoke volumes. It quickly became apparent that this place had a history deeply intertwined with mining. Specifically, the area is known for Gilsonite mining. Vertical seams of this material are found throughout this part of northeast Utah. These geological features, it turns out, are intrinsically linked to the dangerous holes that define the landscape. The cabins found nearby, structures bearing the marks of past inhabitants and offering glimpses into their lives through discarded items, like an old briefcase or inscriptions on the walls, were undoubtedly built by these Gilsonite miners. To truly understand the mystery of the holes, one must delve into the history of Gilsonite itself and the industry it spawned. Gilsonite, a naturally occurring asphalt, first appeared in the desert perhaps around 1902, though its discovery and mining history stretch back earlier. Its formation was much earlier, approximately 57 million years ago, in what is now northeast Utah. It originated from the solidification of petroleum at the bottom of an ancient lake in the Uinta Basin. Described as looking like coal, it has a distinctly unpleasant taste. Gilsonite is a rare, naturally occurring solid hydrocarbon formed from solidified petroleum, known for its shiny, obsidian-like surface and solubility in organic solvents. Found predominantly in Utah's Uinta Basin, Gilsonite occurs in long, vertical veins that stretch for miles and extend deep underground. It formed millions of years ago when viscous petroleum filled fractures in sedimentary rock, later solidifying. Gilsonite has a wide range of industrial uses, including in oil drilling fluids, asphalt paving, ink production, paints, adhesives, and iron foundry work. Mining of Gilsonite began in the late 1800s, with major development led by Samuel Gilson, for whom the material is named. The story of its discovery is a piece of local legend. In the 1860s, a blacksmith, needing fuel for his forge, reportedly asked local Ute Indians to bring him coal. What they brought back, however, was something entirely different: Gilsonite. This material exhibited a strange characteristic. When placed in the forge, it melted, caught fire, and flowed out, nearly destroying the blacksmith's shop. This unusual event attracted attention. Soon, prospectors, including Bert Seabolt and Samuel Gilson, were seeking out this shiny black rock. Due to Samuel Gilson's efforts in marketing the material, it would soon bear his name, Gilsonite. Its unique properties made it valuable, leading to hundreds of uses, including, notably, as a primary ingredient for the distinctive pan-black paint used by Henry Ford on his Model T automobiles. The method by which Gilsonite is found is key to the mystery of the holes. Unlike dispersed deposits, Gilsonite occurs in vertical seams that cut through the earth. These seams vary in width, averaging perhaps 3 to 6 feet wide, though some sources suggest a range of 6 to 20 feet wide. Their depth is astounding, reaching as much as 2,000 feet deep. The giant holes that scar the landscape are, in fact, these very seams, but mined out. Miners would extract the Gilsonite, leaving behind deep, narrow trenches. These mined-out seams are found extensively throughout this corner of Utah. The visual impact of these seams is striking. One particular seam was traced, stretching an impressive 5 miles across the desert, appearing like an open scar on the earth. While many of these trenches are now fenced off to prevent accidents, some sections remain unfenced and open. The sides of these excavated seams are often rounded. Approaching them reveals the unstable nature of the ground nearby. It becomes looser and less stable the closer one gets. A significant danger is the presence of false floors and false roofs within the seams, making it perilously easy to fall into the deep voids. Getting close to these mined-out veins is strongly advised against. The process of extracting Gilsonite from these seams was a monumental task, especially in the early days. These vertical shafts were dug entirely by hand. A team of miners would use hand tools to chip away the ore, load it, and transport it to market. Early mining relied on picks and shovels. The mined ore was hauled off, often in 200-pound sacks, by horse and cart. This method of transport wasn't without its hazards, as the sacks of Gilsonite frequently caught fire. Furthermore, the dust created during the mining process was explosive. Accidents were a common occurrence in these mines. Tragically, the sources mention that at least 3 miners died at the Black Dragon mine alone, due to an explosion and a fire. It is suggested that these were the reported deaths, implying there may have been more. The discovery of a market for Gilsonite led to the formation of towns to support the mining operations. Northeast Utah is home to several fascinating ghost towns that once thrived alongside the local mines. Among these, the town of Dragon stands out. Dragon, Utah, was established as a mining town in 1904, located adjacent to the Black Dragon mine. It is said to have been named for the appearance of the Gilsonite vein itself, which snaked through the hills like a black dragon. Today, Dragon is a ghost town. its many buildings left to the ravages of time. In its prime, Dragon was a bustling community. It boasted a population of 487 people. The town included essential amenities and gathering places such as a warehouse, a store, a boarding house, a school, and 2 saloons. Numerous homes housed the miners and their families. Dragon held a notable advantage over other nearby mining towns. While others relied on slower horse-drawn wagons to move their ore, Dragon benefited from a train system. A railroad was constructed, arriving in 1902. This line ran from Matt, Colorado, to Dragon, and eventually extended to Watson. This narrow-gauge railway was crucial. It effectively put the town on the map by providing a more efficient way to transport Gilsonite. The terrain presented significant challenges for the railroad builders and operators. As the line climbed over Backer Pass, it encountered a steep grade of 72%, combined with sharp curves, making operations difficult. Before the railway's arrival, all goods and ore were painstakingly hauled in and out by mule teams. Exploring the remnants of Dragon offers a tangible connection to this history. One can walk the dusty ground that was once a thriving street. The dust itself is remarkable, described as some of the dustiest dust imaginable, almost like powder. Navigating the area requires caution, as the vegetation is thick and everything seems pokey, ready to scratch or prick. Amidst the overgrowth, one can find the remains of structures. Cabins, some large, reveal details about their construction. Handmade timbers bearing visible axe marks were used. The bark was sometimes left on the wood used for the inside of the buildings. Some structures had large windows. Foundations and buildings of cement. Curiously, some buildings appear to have had fabric applied to the outside walls, likely as a measure to keep the wind out. The exploration suggests that multiple buildings once stood in close proximity. Scattered throughout the ghost town, one can find artifacts left behind by the former inhabitants. What appears to have been a garbage pit yields remnants of daily life, including old plates and glass. Footwear is also found, such as old boots with visible laces and leather straps, offering a poignant reminder of the people who walked this ground. Even parts of the old railroad track are visible, the outline of the bed still distinguishable. Following the faint traces of the railroad ties leads one along the path the train once took through the valley. It's noted as unfortunate that the tracks themselves were removed, leaving only the ties behind. The railroad followed the valley, with a crucial spur line branching off to reach the mine itself. The location of the train depot was likely near where the spur began, although nothing remains of it today. The railroad infrastructure extended beyond just tracks. Remains of a railroad bridge that once spanned a dry creek bed are visible, constructed using a combination of native rock from the area. The grade of the railroad bed can still be seen. Near the bridge, a foundation with a rounded-out section prompts speculation. Perhaps it was a chute for bringing coal in, though the lack of coal remnants on the ground nearby makes this uncertain. Steps leading down into a structure, possibly a furnace area with an air intake if coal was used, evoke images of the miners descending into the earth. Other types of structures found in Dragon include cellars and dugouts. A cellar with a stone entrance looks cool, but can be a mess inside, potentially disturbed by pack rats. Another structure is clearly identified as a cellar. Some appear to be simple dugouts built into the earth. One particular dugout could be described as being pretty creepy. The eerie nature of these abandoned places can be amplified by the quiet of the desert, especially at night. An anecdote shared involves visiting the creepy dugout at night with a son for a ghost hunting attempt. While no actual ghosts were seen, the area still has a lot of eerie sounds. Other buildings include what are identified as actual cabins where people lived, as opposed to just cellars. These often featured logs on the outside. Some have been significantly filled with dirt over time. Large timbers were used in their construction. Another cellar was found. It had been built with cement and some steel, probably belonging to someone well off and, perhaps, the most well-built cellar in the town. Remnants like old clotheslines suggest the domestic lives lived here. The ultimate destination for understanding the mystery is the Black Dragon Mine itself. This is the site where the Gilsonite vein was first discovered around 1860. Mining operations commenced here in 1888. The mine has a visible entrance where employees would enter. However, these mines are explicitly stated as places that should not be entered due to their age and inherent dangers, particularly the presence of false floors. The history of this mine is tied to the dangers of the industry. The use of picks and shovels, horse-drawn carts, sacks catching fire, explosive dust, and the recorded deaths. The story of Dragon and its mines is ultimately one of boom and bust. The Gilsonite seam at the Black Dragon Mine eventually played out. As technology advanced, it became more economically viable to transport Gilsonite from other locations using trucks. This shift in logistics rendered the railroad obsolete, and it was shut down in 1939. With its primary purpose gone and transportation methods changed, the town of Dragon was soon abandoned. Thus, the ghost town was born. Another mystery, similar to the ghost town of Dragon in Utah, was the sudden revelation about the enigma of Mars. For decades, Mars has been a source of fascination and speculation. Its barren landscape, crisscrossed with dry riverbeds and pockmarked with ancient craters, has fueled endless theories. Some scientific, others veering into the realm of the extraordinary strange rock formations, geometric patterns, and what appeared to be artificial structures captured by rovers and orbiters sparked wild debates. Was Mars once home to an ancient civilization? Were there hidden remnants just waiting to be found? Unlike others who speculated broadly about structures or objects, this man focused specifically on what he believed were human skulls scattered across the Martian terrain. He meticulously analyzed NASA images, enhancing and zooming in on areas that appeared to reveal distinct skull-like shapes. He described formations that eerily resembled eye sockets, nasal cavities, and even jawbones, remarkably similar to human skeletal remains found on Earth. According to him, the uncanny resemblance was impossible to ignore. His claims became even more shocking with the theory he proposed to explain the presence of these apparent remains. He suggested that Mars might have once been a testing ground for human experiments, possibly conducted by an advanced extraterrestrial race or even a covert space program. He theorized that the skulls were the remnants of individuals who were either abandoned on Mars or used in unknown scientific procedures. He argued that the evidence was overwhelming, with too many skull-like formations spotted in different locations for it to be dismissed as mere rocks. He contended that if these images had been found on Earth, they would have immediately been recognized as skeletal remains. His posts generated significant controversy within the group, drawing support from some and dismissal from others. But what happened next was far more concerning. His posts discussing his findings started to mysteriously disappear. Comments vanished, and some members reported they could no longer find his posts. Then, without warning, he vanished entirely. His Facebook profile was deleted, his posts were removed, and no one in the community could contact him. It was as if he had never existed. The sudden disappearance sent shock waves through the group. Discussions shifted from his findings to speculation about his fate. Some suggested he had been silenced by an unknown entity or a higher authority, seeking to suppress the information. Others believed he had gone into hiding, fearing for his safety after realizing the gravity of his potential exposure. While a few skeptics thought he simply lost interest, those who had followed his work closely suspected something far more mysterious was at play. One of the most unsettling aspects was how efficiently all traces of him seemed to have been removed. In today's digital age, completely erasing someone online is nearly impossible, yet there was no sign of him anywhere. Even screenshots saved by members were reportedly corrupted or inexplicably missing, suggesting a deliberate effort to erase all evidence of his findings. Theories about what really happened to him continue to circulate, including the possibility that he stumbled upon classified information never meant for public eyes. If the skull formations he identified were real, it would have profound implications, suggesting humans had once lived on Mars, or that something far more sinister occurred there. Perhaps Mars was a battleground for advanced civilizations or a secret program's experimental site, with its subjects disposed of on the unforgiving landscape. The chilling possibility remains that he was silenced by forces who monitor and control information about Mars. The source notes that whistleblowers and researchers claiming to have discovered classified extraterrestrial information have historically reported harassment, threats, and even mysterious deaths. If his findings were authentic, it suggested he could have become a target for suppression. NASA's silence on these specific claims, while routinely dismissing anomalies as optical illusions, only adds to the suspicion and the unsettling idea that an independent researcher might have exposed something they wished to remain hidden. The mystery surrounding his disappearance is unsolved, but his legacy persists in underground communities like the Mars Anomaly Research Society, with people curious about his findings to continue his work. While the authenticity of the images he shared remains debated, the manner of his vanishing raises far more pressing concerns. The lingering question is, what did he know that made him a target? If Mars is indeed littered with the skeletal remains of past experiments or lost civilizations, then the truth is being kept from the public at all costs. And so, while the dunes of Utah no longer conceal a terrifying unsolved mystery, the red plains of Mars remain an open question of haunting images and vanished whistleblowers daring us to imagine that Earth is not the only cradle of life. Whether carved by wind or crafted by intelligence, those alien landscapes beckon the curious, proving that some mysteries are never fully laid to rest, and that every answer only deepens the wonder.